What's up, I'm Bees, and welcome to Scuzz meets Limp Bizkit with Fred and Wes. How's things going?
Things going good.
Good, glad to hear it. We open these interviews the same way every single time. Who were the first people that made you want to be in a band?
Band influencers or just human?
Either or, whichever works.
Oh, yeah.
Devin Townsend was talking about Jim Henson puppets, so like it can come from anywhere.
Yeah, interesting.
Minor Threat.
Ah, awesome.
My cousin, Billy.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
Was he in a band or?
No, he played guitar and he turned me on to all the music that I was getting into in my coming of age.
Right.
Yeah. Starting with the Kiss in the early 70s and
amazing.
Ozzy and things like that. You
And,
know,
so when did rap come into it?
About 1979, 1980.
Yeah?
Yeah.
With?
Probably like the Treacherous 3, and then the Sugar Hill Gang put out a record that became very popular, and just a lot of core New York stuff that not a lot of people knew about.
Killer.
Yeah.
But the Bizkit sound was in the pocket from the start. Was that something that just naturally came when you first come together as a band?
Yeah, and it's what always happens when we get together to write. It's just the natural chemistry from the members of the band. When, you know, as far as guitar, bass, drums, and vocals, and it doesn't happen when one person out of the four of us isn't included.
Yeah.
It sounds different.
Yeah, it's like a recipe that requires a certain amount of each ingredients, and on the ingredients on their own have a very distinct individual, thing about them, but when put it together with something else, it creates something else. And individually, our musical tastes are very different and cross the line sometimes. But when we come together as a band, the outcome is Limp Bizkit, and that's something we can't really change or understand quite.
I did an interview with Ross Robinson recently, and he was saying about like what a prolific band you were, like in terms of like writing in a block, like really quickly and like banging out tunes. Was that the case when you were putting together $3 Bill Y'all, with this being a retrospective interview?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I think we did it in a week or less.
Yeah, like 70% of the album was written in a week. I think.
Wow.
Yeah, and
So-
it just
Pre-production or in studio or?
pre-production.
Yeah.
Or studio, and a couple things were written in the studio, also.
Yeah, on the spot.
Yeah.
And so how did you and Ross come to hook up?
I have been very persistent in getting our demo to people that were on their way to be successful or successful, and luckily I'd run into Korn a couple of different times, and the first time I gave him a demo, it didn't necessarily go anywhere with them, and the next time I saw them, I gave them a more updated demo, and that sparked a little bit of interest in Fieldy, the bass player, and he passed it along to Ross Robinson, and that sort of was our ticket to tell labels and people that Ross Robinson was interested in Limp Bizkit, and sort of started the whole thing rolling.
And then Ross remixed the second demo that was given. Was the first one like Armpit and Stereotype and all those?
Yeah, the first one was like that, and then the second one
was Pollution, Counterfeit, and Stuck.
Yeah, and we went to that studio in New York with Josh Abraham, remember?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
After releasing $3 Bill Y'all, did you feel part of the movement that was going on at that time with yourselves and Korn, Incubus and Deftones? Did you feel part of that movement, or kind of were you fish out of water even then?
I don't know, it was going so fast. All we did was tour. It was just touring, and it turned into making videos and touring, making videos, and we were just around. To me, I thought it was always be that way. All of us just playing together and doing shows together, and it's hard to be in the moment and grasping everything that's going on in the moment. Then, for me, it was, for some reason, I never saw us being like any of the other bands, just a part of the movement, you know what I mean? A part of like, their people would understand us because, there's a little bit of that in there. There's not really any, I didn't feel there was like any direct rapping in like Korn, but there was like these hip-hop-y feeling breakdowns and moments.
Cypress Hill elements.
Yeah,
that were in Korn.
Deftones, clearly he had this flow about him on a couple songs that you'd go, you know, it's in there, it's in him, but they're not doing it, but it is. And then they would do covers of hip hop songs, and so we sort of just felt comfortable, like we just fit with everybody, sort of somehow.
Did it feel like the rap edge of it was the defining characteristic at that point that kind of set you apart from those other bands? Because like it was like the first band that brought like pure hip hop in terms of it, like outside of Rage Against the Machine and that kind of thing. But like of that movement was Bizkit. It was like the first, like there is a pure rap vocal.
Well, it was the one thing I felt that I could commit to and do, because I'm not a singer or vocalist. I never consider myself much of any of those things. I loved hip hop and I loved writing raps and breakdancing and doing things, but I didn't. It was the easiest because I'm sort of percussive the way I think. I can think of a drum beat or a riff or a cadence to something. So that was the easiest way. The melodies were always still the things that are hard for me. But I don't know, it just felt like that's what we did. So a lot of times then when we first played, actually the first time we ever played, we had songs that I didn't even have words to. I'd just make them up as we'd go. We knew the structures and I would just make up the words.
Which must be pretty difficult because like it's like complex musically. I mean, when you take the instrumental tracks of Bizkit stuff, it's not simple.
Well, some of it's simple. I think overall it's, you know, like Break Stuff, it was an incredibly successful song for us. That's one of the simplest songs that we have, and I think it's a lot harder to write simple things that sound unique than it is to write complex things that sound unique. It's a lot harder to pull that off because it's, but I think it's easier for people to grab.
So come and get it!
Welcome back to Scuzz Meets Limp Bizkit. I know we spoke a little bit there about like being inside the eye of the storm, but could you feel things building? Like on $3 bills, y'all, towards Right Insignificant Other, did it feel like there was something bigger coming?
I was spending all my time just trying to get new tours and like touring with bands we like Helmet and Faith No Mores, and like it was more like we were just going and we kept getting these tours. And I don't really know if we knew what was going to happen.
No, and I think when you see people talk about like, oh yeah, we could tell something big was going to happen.
Yeah.
No, they can't. They can't tell. That's just their ego talking. Like thinking that something big is going to happen, because we were always surprised when big things did happen. It was always like a pleasant surprise. And I think that, I don't know, whenever somebody says that they could predict the future and see that big things were on the way, no, because I've thought, oh, there's this big thing is going to happen with this certain thing, and it totally didn't happen.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I just don't agree with that. I think they're just making a weather forecast that doesn't have any, you know, grounding in reality.
It's interesting because like there were so many like generation-defining songs on Significant Other. Like to be, even when you were writing it, to just be like, well, like you must have felt confident though, right? Like you must have like been. There's something.
I don't think you ever feel confident until after it's done, you know, and then you go, wow.
We have presence.
Yeah.
We're not scared. You know, I think we're confident in the magic of the band, what we do, what we give on stage, and then every time we would give it, it would be given back to us tenfold, and we would give back, and this building would happen, and spirit would be created every show, and so our confidence, I think, was just in the fact that we loved playing live and we weren't scared to do it. Like, we didn't care who we played for. I mean, even on the Faith No More tour,
that was the roughest tour.
They were booing us, everybody, but there'd be 10 people a night or so that would just, they got it.
Yeah.
And it just, you know, that was enough. It didn't matter what was happening. You know, it was kind of a bummer going, Mike Patton's so cool and this is awesome and their fans hate us.
Ultimate rough with the smooth
Until
moments.
we played Faith or something.
Yeah.
You know, like, that's cool.
Faith No More fans dig George Michael, who knew?
So come and get it!
I just remember getting pelted with change at the Electric Factory in Philadelphia, and we just stopped playing and just made noise until the barrage of debris was too great to stay on the stage anymore.
During the cycle for Significant Other, how was it when life went from like 30 to 120? From being this kind of cult cult band. So like you were saying, like being pelted with change in Philadelphia, to kind of, I guess in a way, being the biggest band in America for like that set amount of time. How did life change for you guys in terms of on the road and personally?
Just kept going. Like it's just became more and more and more of a lot of things. And so, you know, when you're a very simple organization that becomes a very, very complex organization, you know, we're just flying by the seat of our pants, man. We're just going, holding on tight as we could, because it was taking turns that we never predicted.
Was it enjoyable? Did it suck? Or did it just go through waves of both of those things?
Just both of those things.
Yeah?
Yeah. It was hard to remember a lot.
I was about to say, was it a blur?
Yeah. For me it was.
Yeah. I was a kid who's, you know, really had thought, you know, the sort of abuse and torture you grow up with, and being a victim of all this kind of sort of domestic abuse and bullying, and you're like, this is just my life. And then having Limp Bizkit, to have a voice to fight back and stand up for yourself, I was sort of on a high of celebrating the whole time. You know, it was kind of just, I couldn't shake a stick at 3 girls who would have anything to do with me for Limp Bizkit that were worthy. And then you got 300, you know, around every corner, and I was just like, oh yeah, I'm gonna have some fun with this.
Why not?
Because it's gonna go away. My whole thought is, it's gonna go away tomorrow. It's gonna go away. It's gonna go away. I enjoy it while I can. It's gonna go away. Because, you know, we grew up hearing all the tales of the bands that got robbed by their managers, or, you know, there was this huge act, and then all of a sudden now they're like, you know,
Yeah,
what happened?
where are they now? Yeah.
But then again, you realize living it that they're real people. You know, it's not what you thought it was. They're human beings with real lives, and people change their minds, and people want different things. You evolve, you know, your tastes change, your perspective change, your desires and wants and needs change, and that's okay. But when you're just a fan outside looking in, it's not okay. They can't do that.
Yeah.
That is f***ed up. You sucked. I love your first, but this sucks.
Yeah.
And we're like, it must be nice being so ignorant. You know, ignorance is bliss for those people.
No way to live, man.
No, they don't know any better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We did a chat recently for Metal Hammer, for a new metal special, where we spoke about the red cap thing, and you said that, like, you for a little while you kind of felt like a clown putting on his makeup, like having to wear the red hat all the time. Like, did that kind of mess with your head a bit? Like that whole period of kind of like people expect that guy to look that way and be a certain way, when you're like, actually I'm a person like everyone else. I wake up and like my mood is determined by however I am or whatnot. Like, I'm not identikit. You can't pin me down like that.
In some way, a small piece of us were like athletes. You know, we're going to a certain style of sport where, you know, in our style of sport, we have, you know, our uniforms, or John wears a tank top that he can sweat, and Wes puts on his gig, and I put on my thing. We went into our gear for, you know, that sports athletic performance, but it was more like what I was wearing, maybe for superstitious reasons, or reasons because I liked it and that was my style, turning into just seeing the wrong people, you know, people that I clearly despised, you know, true bullies, bad people out there, embracing Limp Bizkit because of how it made them feel, not because what it was about. And seeing those people wearing the caps and doing the things and torturing other people out in the audiences, it became, you know, it just became, you know, the irony was out of control to some extent. And I kept it internalized a lot, you know, I just tried not to, it was just something I dealt with inside. And finally, I tried to say something like it about it in the Boiler video. I tried, you know, everything we tried to say in our videos didn't really come out. You know,
Metaphors,
every
man.
time we're trying to make fun of something, people loved it. You know, it's like making fun of hip hop videos with the Roland video. It's clearly Wes's, you know,
Yeah,
doing it. He's
didn't
one of the
fancy
greatest
wearing
characters
grills all
of
the
all
time.
times in the front of that video. I could watch an entire television series with that.
So come and get it.
Does it feel like that period, like you touched on it there, like talking about like the jocks taking hold of something and like kind of misinterpreting it, and like that was difficult for you coming from a bully background, and like Wes yourself, like coming from like a more independent side of like music, and like where that kind of that audience doesn't really live and exist. Was it difficult to watch for you guys, like that audience kind of in the eyes of people that are a bit more like just seeing things at face value, kind of defining Limp Bizkit at that point in time? Was that difficult for you guys to watch?
It was and it wasn't. I mean, the spectacle of what happens at our live shows and what used to happen at the really big ones was just upsetting and exciting at the same time.
Yeah.
You know, and it was just like, wow, this is really happening. This is chaos. This is like a war is happening, a riot is happening inside this venue right now. And as much as you hated it, as I hated seeing people get hurt, there was a thrill in what could go wrong at any second, watching this, terrible, maelstrom of misdirected angst just being poured out all over the floor of an arena. And watching people jump from, really high up in the seats down to the floor. And I mean, there were moments that were just like, wow, this is wrong. This is wrong. But I remember the barricades breaking one time. There were a bunch of people around the monitor board, and our monitor engineer and all the people had to jump up and onto the stage and escape like the monitor board getting turned over.
Wow.
Because we had people rushing in all around the stage. It was just insanity.
I get the euphoria side of it as well, though, because, the first time I saw your band was opening for Soulfly with Cold at the Astoria.
Oh, and, God, that was a lousy tour.
That was the first time, but also, on the scale that you're talking about, Reading in 2000, it felt like there was a lot of positive energy in places as well. It didn't have to just be everyone always points at the Woodstock thing, but
right. Well, that's what makes it confusing.
Yeah, right. The thing that always interests me about Woodstock is when you talk about the fact that when you got off stage, Fred, you were saying that you wanted to go back out and say something and be chill, and that once you'd realised what was going on, because while you were on stage, it's you didn't know that the plywood had been being ripped off of vendors and all that kind of thing.
So many people, and we had, there's hundreds of people on stage of our peers and people that we've grown up listening to. I thought it was just an epic, and they brought us there. They know what we do, the promoters, and when you put that many people together, it's just going to be amplified. And I just thought it was an amplified experience of that. And all you see up front is people
ain't Bob Dylan.
Laughing and smiling and screaming and having a blast. And I thought it was a great experience until we get off stage and we're told that, we've got to get you out of here. The place is going to a riot, and it's going, we're what is going on here?
Was it true that the police wanted a word?
Yeah. Yeah, we didn't, I didn't know. I had a lot of friends there and a girl with me.
You're looking at a sea of people. You can't focus in on little things happening.
And I'm playing.
I'm playing. We're playing songs. The audience is really far away. The barricade between the stage and the audience. The stage and the barricade. The amount of distance was massive.
Yeah.
With TV cameras and a lot of photographers and just and then to realize what was happening later, and then to watch the news reports of the mashup of our day and the next day where the fires were, and watching them cut footage of the fires that happened when we were gone.
Yeah, the Peace Vigil, right?
Right,
yeah.
and cutting that into our set at the same time was just they were just let's make this worse.
Yeah.
They found an
36
opportunity.
hours had kind of passed between that time.
They found an opportunity to point a finger. We didn't do anything different at our show. That we did the same thing we do at every show. We just do what we do, and it was nothing different for that day. It was even harder because the monitors were really bad that day. It was so bad and feeding back, and I remember I was wearing in-ears and it was all, I hated it. I couldn't feel the vibes, so that's why I wanted to go down in the crowd, and it's, you know, so much going on and you're just there doing what we do. We had to make the most of what we were given. And I think they found a good spin on it, and they found someone to, you know, they shouldn't have, all they did on that show too was advertise all of the new metal and the heavy bands and the things. It was, they were capitalizing and marketing something that was having its moment, you know.
Yourselves, Kid Rock, Korn.
They were pushing that so hard, and it was about ticket sales to them. It wasn't about the meaning, because if they would have taken the meaning of all the pain and all the vengeance and all the angst and all the things that go into all those types of music, it wouldn't have had the meaning of any Woodstock
the
whatsoever.
Antithesis, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And so, unfortunately, people don't take time to think about that afterwards. It's just, oh, Limp Bizkit's this.
Let's do it.
So it's awesome.
Did it feel like it was just like any chance to kick Limp Bizkit, like we'll take it? From
it made us huge.
Yeah, like as the next record was like.
It was the opposite of bringing us down. It was just, you know, more and more attention all the time.
Yeah, if they wanted it to go away, they probably should have not made such a big deal about it.
Yeah. Did it feel within your organisation though that like it didn't matter how much people spoke, like the Biscuit train was still going?
No, to me it was always, you know, we're individuals. It's not like we communicated our feelings to each other as band mates. Yeah, we were individuals in the band that collectively did what we did when we got together. So, you know, what I'm thinking, what I'm doing is very different than what Wes is thinking, what Wes is doing, and what John, and we're all individuals who, when we get on a stage, we're one in this very weird way, and that's what made it work. And so, for me, I've always been, you know, spit on and poked at, and, you know, so it was just par for the course. Yeah. This is my life.
Just on a different scale.
This is on a different scale, so, you know, I'm not gonna give about what you're saying or what you think, because, you know, it's always gonna be painful, and if I sit around and focus on it too much, I'm gonna just have all this doubt and all these shadows cave in on me. So I have to find light, be at the end of the tunnel at all times. You're going in an endless tunnel with a light way at the end, and you're just chasing, you're just getting to it, and it stays the same distance away, but you can see.
It's so interesting that you say about you guys being individuals though, because I mean we've done this show for a long time now, and like I think this is the first time that I've heard someone say that, because basically like a lot of the bands that we speak to like kind of are like, we're a gang, and like we're all like as one. Like I'm sure that like that has kind of become more of the case over the years. Certainly this like second run that you guys have had together. But at that point in time, is that how Biscuit felt? It was just like everyone was kind of dealing with their own things in their own way at that point in time, and had their own thoughts on everything, as opposed to like a group gang mentality?
You know, my thought was to get the best musicians that I could get to put in a band. I am not from where these guys grew up, you know, even though at the time had been in Jacksonville for a while, except for me. It wasn't about that. It was about the best of the best and everybody was the best at what they did somehow. And you know, Wes had he has his frontman, guitar player, singer in his own band, had his own thing going. It was the most unique thing in Jacksonville. It wasn't like any of the other Hessian metal and crazy that was going on. I mean, it was very different. Like, he was the most different thing. And you're like, wow, that's the guy. And luckily, I'd already acquired a drummer and a bass player that kind of knew how they could get to him. It was just like that. They go, well, you want us to say something? And we're like, yeah. Say something to that guy. You know what I mean? You know, it was always about the music. Like, when we got together, somehow it worked. If it was about our individual personalities, we never, ever would have been in the band room together, because none of us were compatible in any type of way whatsoever. So it was about what could happen with the music. Let's see what'll happen with the music.
And that was very compatible.
And that just was magic from the first second. So that worked. Later on, clearly, it became you know, with the music's going, of course, that's a no-brainer. The individual conflict, you know, becomes more apparent. It becomes like, well, this isn't Pearl Jam.
Yeah.
This isn't what we're, you know, as much as we're trying to make it be something else, we are individuals. And,
Yeah,
you know, and,
totally.
and so it became a time where
Did the bubble get too big? On
no,
the
got
chocolate
like
starfish?
everybody where that part wasn't there. Nobody, we couldn't communicate with one another because we never did. Like we never ever did, ever.
But we sure do now, which is
Yeah, it's
Make
totally opposite.
it up for lost time.
now it's totally it's totally.
Did you never?
gross.
That's so weird.
Did you never consider your like Phil Towel, like got a guy coming in and like kind of trying to get you to communicate with each other stuff? Was that?
No,
was that
like
never,
the guy in the Metallica
that's
movie.
Phil Towel. Like I can
okay.
only. I mean, it was mad enough watching those guys with it, but like
we
a
weren't
group
there,
of
man.
people
We were-
so different to each other, like you lot.
That wasn't an option for us at the time. We didn't look at everything. We looked at, you know, things were just going, and I thought that's the way they worked. And Wes at the time was thinking more, wait a minute, what am I doing here? You know, and that's cool, but I'm like, you know, I'm not compatible. And so none of, you know, the other guys in the band, which they're never in interviews, as you see, they're much more passive.
Right.
And they're very different guys.
Yeah.
But Wes and I, we have incredibly strong personalities, and for me, I just thought that's the way it works. I've been a loner my whole life. I don't communicate with anybody. I have, you know, massive issues with that and trust things. So it's just gonna go. It's just gonna keep going, and we'd get together. And with Wes and I, clearly, we needed this camaraderie. We needed to communicate, and neither of us knew how to communicate. It was absolutely impossible, and you know, like we just didn't communicate at all.
Yeah.
It was unbelievable.
So come and get it. So come and get it.
One of the most fascinating chats that we've done while doing this Scuzz Meets thing was with Jason Newsted. And like we spoke to him about like the day he decided to leave Metallica, like it's just like the day where he just went like, I can't do this anymore. Do you remember the day that you decided that like I can't be part of Bizkit anymore?
Well, it wasn't even that I didn't want to be part of Bizkit. 2001 was a hard year in a lot of ways. Like I was going through personal problems with my relationship. I didn't know if I wanted to be in music anymore at all in my life. The World Trade Center got hit in the US. We had Jessica, that was the year Jessica died at our show. I mean, it was a hard, it was a hard year that year, and I felt really lost and alone and didn't know what I wanted to do with my life, so I just retreated.
Yeah, like because for that couple of years, I mean, obviously, like there was Big Dumb Face, but like it was a while before, like
But that was Big Dumb Face was before.
yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
Like it was a while between like that and Black Light Burns slowly emerging.
Yeah, I
and,
just
like,
didn't really know what I want to do. I
You
just
threw yourself into art, though, right? There was a lot
I got
of
really
art
into
work.
art, and my marriage fell apart, and we got back together to try in 2004
the
to women,
Unquestionable Truth thing.
and it didn't really work out, and not until 2009 were we ready to get back and like actually do this again.
How was it from the outside? Did you pay any attention to Bizkit while it was going, while you were out of Bizkit?
I mean, sure, I watched the videos out of curiosity, you know, and checked out what was happening with them, and was glad that they were, you know, they were able to you know, find somebody and to move on. And you know, I felt like self-imposed, like that I'd checked out of it, but I kind of went insane. Like I don't know, I think all the fame and the band and how big we got, and it made me not want to be part of the world. It made me want to get out of who I was, or find who I was. I don't know.
Right.
I was only 26 at the time, man. I was a baby.
Insane, yeah.
You know.
So come and get it.
Results may vary. You mentioned earlier about like when you take one of the elements out, like I mean, I'm a fan of that record. Like, hands up. Did it feel different? Did it still feel Bizkit?
I think so.
I mean,
Yeah.
to me, it's like I am Limp Bizkit. You know, Wes is Limp Bizkit. One
Yeah.
of our things in our life was to not be the elephant in the room. We have to accept, no matter what we do in our lives, I'm Fred from Limp Bizkit. That is what it's going to be.
Yeah,
And
totally.
so it was just having to move on with being crippled. You know, it's like, you're not going to let it bring you down. You're going to keep going. And I picked up a guitar and went back to before we had Wes, you know, when I was trying to write some songs in, you know, a very simple way, and I picked a guitar and wrote all those songs, and had a guy who's capable of playing the songs, play them, and, you know, make a chord where I play with one finger, sound better with a few fingers, and it just felt like it was more about internal things and metaphors and other things that, you know, were going on with me as reflecting on Limp Bizkit and not moving it forward. And I really love the record for what it is. It was a very dark time and a very interesting time. And I did a lot of soul searching during that period. And I got in shape and did all kinds of different things. And I knew at that time, because Wes and I had already been, you know, resenting each other a little bit. And so I knew at that time that, you know, we was always going to have to leave the door open. You just never know what's going to happen. And so I said, it's not about talking, it's not about doing anything. I'm upset that he left us here hanging, and it was painful, and I don't know what to say, but, you know, it's too good. We had too many great moments where it was so magic that we couldn't have predicted. It wasn't choreographed, it was real, and I know we shared those moments, and then we eventually got to a place that we were like, yeah, we miss it, because it's irreplaceable.
Yeah.
Like, there's some shit that happens, and we get to now have it, you know, every night.
In a positive, really positive way.
There ain't nothing wrong, no. There ain't nothing wrong with that.
When the band got back together in 2009, it felt like there was a moment at Downloads. I had something that's like so vivid in my memory that, like, I remember you went to the side of the stage and hugged one of the guys from Korn. From a crowd perspective, it didn't just look like you were having fun. It felt like people were willing to embrace the amount of brilliant music that was done in your time as Bizkit. Has it felt like that since the reunions come back again? Like, it feels like there's a lot more love for Bizkit then. It's like almost like I think you said it in our chat recently, where it was like when you're in a war, like people kind of lose track of what they're fighting for and what they're kind of fighting against. Like, did it feel like when you came back that, like, there was a lot more of an outpouring of love from the rock community than there had been previously?
You know, my perspective is different. I'm on the inside of it,
Yeah.
and I stopped looking from the outside. I stopped tuning into out there, because it's a lot of times, you know, it's just become a world where it's, you know, you're mainly heard if you're negative, or you have a negative opinion about something. If you have some negative way to make fun of somebody, or do something like this is fun for people. It's the majority of everything, and so I still think of it like that with Limp Bizkit. I'm happy we're moving forward, and when there's something magical happening, you know, whether it's a cycle or whether it's some resurgence of something, but it does feel amazing to be constantly asked to do these incredible, you know, things all these years later, and I'm still jaded and sort of affected from all the negativity that went on before. It's sort of me, it's like I feel like that's always what it's gonna be, for some bizarre reason.
Brisbane are gone, Stampede of the Disco Elephants. It's kind of hard, like, as someone that's heard Ready to Go and Lights, that two very differing tracks. Like I said, I spoke recently to Ross, who said that he worked with you on some bits for a little amount of time. How eclectic a record is this? Because from those two tracks, it feels like there's a lot to bridge in between. Is there a lot going on?
What's the
on
second track you're talking about?
Lights.
Oh,
right?
okay.
Yeah. Like, it feels like there's a big, like, gap.
The thing is, those songs aren't on any record. We don't even know what.
Oh, are they
if
not
they're
going to go
gonna
on
be
the record?
We don't
They may
know.
or may not be on.
Ah, right.
Yeah.
They're just songs that we've had. Ready to Go's been done over 4 years.
You're kidding me.
So,
Oh, no way.
Great time to put it out when we signed with Cash Money. That was kind of like, let's put it out. It's not saying what Stampede of the Disco Elephants is or will be. It's just what people are brainwashed into thinking. It's the formula. It's what they're tying everything to.
Guilty as charged.
Yeah, and it's something we can't break the cycle of. So, you know, all I can say about Stampede the Disco Elephants is as much of a mystery for you as it is for me. I don't know what it is. I don't know it's Limp Bizkit. Once again, our favorite color is plaid. We are crazy. We are crazy.
Yeah. And we have a lot of material that we're gonna see.
I can believe it. Spoke about it in the first place, being a prolific
stuff
band.
that we have to sift through when we get home, and more to write.
Yeah,
Wow.
it
doesn't feel like it's. It doesn't feel like it's. I know the record is never done, but like it doesn't feel like you've finished like on Rubber Stampede.
It feels like a septic tank blew up inside of a library, and that we've got to clean all the books off. That's what it feels like right now. There's a lot of material. There's a lot of data to process. And it's going to be a dirty job.
Can I also say, Rubber Stampede of the Disco Elephants is the most bizarre sentence I've ever said on a television screen. Scuzz meets Limp Bizkit, Fred and Wes.
No problem.
Thanks so much, guys.
Cheers.
Give me something to break. Give me something to break. So come and get it.